Yesterday, I titled the episode Don't Fuck the Pain Away, based off of the song by Peaches. And I realized today that it's like, we can talk about these things. So what does it actually mean in practice? Like, it's a nice theory, right? It's a nice theory to stay with our pain and to not avoid it and to not distract and numb, like our culture so easily, directs us towards that, right? Tempts us with distraction. But yeah, what does it actually mean to stay with the pain, or stay with the emotion, or stay with the vulnerability, stay with our humanity? And what I mean by our humanity is just our human experience, our feelings, our thoughts, our vulnerabilities, our tenderness. So today's the full moon. I feel the moon quite a lot. A lot of people think it's just like absolute kind of, hocus pocus, whatever. But I believe in it, or I feel it. So therefore I believe in it. I can only go by what my body actually feels. And so today I'm feeling tender, vulnerable. I'm on my cycle, so that lends itself to more tenderness, more vulnerability. And so I just have been thinking about, okay, this act of staying with our experience. And what better time to talk about it when I'm in the practice, in the moment of staying with my experience. So what is it? It's feeling your stomach and your solar plexus want to tighten, to clench, to grip on because it feels scared, because it feels anxious, because it's caught in both a future story and a past trauma, maybe. And it doesn't want to stay in the present moment because what it remembers from the past and what it's afraid of in the future, it doesn't want to feel that. And so I can feel the remnants of the past, and I could see it as like a film or slides of my life moving rapidly in front of me, like seeing, remembering, feeling, because everything's always attached to an emotion. And the story, right? The story, which I've spent a lot of the last years really letting go of my story. That's a whole other episode. Letting go of the story. That's a very powerful one. So there's that still has even if I don't attach myself to the story, there's still the awareness of what was, what happened, what did I experience in my life? What hurt? What did I learn from? All of that. And then there's the projection of the future of what could happen, what might happen, what if that happened. And the future always brings mainly fear and anxiety for us as humans because it's an unknown, right? And we don't like the unknown and it scares us. So therefore, the future often brings about fear. Unless we're in a conscious, grounded space and we're actively visioning and manifesting what we desire to come forth into the future. A lot of especially what we've been conditioned, is to fear the future. And so I'm just like holding both of these, like, okay, acknowledging the past, feeling the what if of the future. And it's like, okay, but what is the only thing true? The only thing that's true is right here, right now. But right here, right now feels uncomfortable. So what we've been taught is like, this doesn't feel comfortable, so I'm not going to pay attention to it. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to go eat something. I'm going to go watch something. For some people, it's like, I'm going to have a cigarette. I'm going to have a joint. I'm going to get on social media. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to get busy in my work. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go have sex. There's so many different things, right? And none of those things, I'm not saying any of those things are bad or good or right or wrong. It is always, what is our motivation and what is our intention? Are we doing it to distract ourselves? Or are we doing it because we're present in the moment with it and we're engaging with it? Is it a coping mechanism, or is it something that, we're doing conscientiously? Two totally different motivations. Same action, different motivations mean completely two different things. So the discomfort, we've been taught no, don't feel uncomfortable. That's not good. We live in a life where everything should be comfortable and happy and positive and fine. We're in La La Land. And so to stay with the discomfort is unknown territory. And you feel it. You feel the physicality of your solar plexus, your gut, your belly, your heart maybe even your throat if there's something in you that wants to say something and feels like you can't. Maybe it's your lower back because you don't feel supported. Maybe you feel nauseous because you can't process the emotions. The body holds and speaks everything. It's holding it for us whether we want to admit it or not. And my God, is it strong to hold what's going on for us, even and most especially when we distract ourselves. It must be like, man, you're a pain in the ass. Why can't you just look at me? Why can't you just feel? Why do you keep on running away? Our body puts up with a lot. So stay with the discomfort, okay? That means I have to sit here and I have to breathe. Because if I don't breathe, I'll wiggle. And if I wiggle, then I feel tense. If I feel tense, I can't breathe. And then it just replicates. It pushes me up into my mind, which then goes back into the past and into the future. So it's like, okay, come back into the body. Breathe. And when I breathe into the discomfort, so right now for me, the discomfort is in my solar plexus. And when I breathe into the solar plexus, it relaxes. It actually makes the discomfort relax for a moment. It eases it for a moment. It feels better for a moment. And to be honest, even just talking about all of this, whether it's I'm going into other things and it's veering off the present experience that I'm having or not, or if I'm actually saying what is going on in my body in this moment, because I'm trying to wrap two things into one, the personal and the the more general, it still helps because I'm talking about it. So yesterday, as I said, that this is diving into the water, right? When you dive into the water, there's movement. Things move. Energy moves. The distraction that I don't want to feel the discomfort is the stagnancy, is the shallow water that I spoke of yesterday. And that is the murkiness, right? That builds the film, the bacteria, the gunk, which then, perpetuates itself more and more and more because it's like the more film that, builds up, the less likely we are to want to go in and clean the water, right? When something gets so disgusting, it's like, oh God, I'm just going to abandon that. And that's what we're doing with ourselves. We abandon ourselves. Oh, that's too much to look at. There must be, a pit of snakes in there. There must be something wrong. There must be something that's unfixable. It's so wrong. So I better not look at it because it's going to be too awful. At this point, let's just leave it alone. It's like close the closet. It's like the closet with all the shit that you've packed in and you're afraid to open it because it's going to fall out and tumble on you and you're going to fall back onto the floor with a bunch of boxes and stuff, laying on top of you. It's that kind of notion, right? But when we go in and we dive into the water, we actually see that the water is clear. So yeah, it feels uncomfortable, but when I breathe into it, what's interesting is it's okay. Like, yeah, don't like the feeling, but it's okay. And then maybe I feel the tenderness of my being, and I feel the vulnerability of my being, and maybe I feel a bit of sadness, and maybe I feel a bit of, whatever the varying emotions that come up. But there's something that feels kind of also good about it, because there's that part that goes, oh, you're seeing me, like you're here with me. Thank you. I don't feel so alone anymore. I don't feel so shamed anymore. I don't feel like something is maybe so wrong with me, because if you're sitting here with me and you're being kind, you're not leaving, you're not running away, you're not going anywhere, you're not judging me, then maybe I'm not so unworthy, for example. And this whole idea of this too shall pass, that can only happen when we stay and we breathe through it, and it relaxes, and it doesn't have to go into the story of the past or into the projection of the future. It can just be like, thanks for being here with me. And then I've always seen it as like, okay, take the feeling, take the emotion, and imagine it like a child that you would just hold in your arms, that just wants to rest, that just wants to be held. How many times as adults do we go, I just want somebody to hold me. I want my lover, my partner, my husband, my wife to just hold me. That's that like part of us, the little child that was held, right? When we were small enough to actually be held in somebody's arms. Like my daughter is 7.5 now, and I still carry her. And I'm like, how long am I going to be able to do this? But I do it because to be held and carried is so amazing. And as adults, we don't get that anymore because we're too fucking big, but we're also too armored to actually allow ourselves to be held. But to be held feels so good, right? When somebody even gives us like a piggyback ride, we're like, I don't have to stand on my legs anymore. Feels really good, right? But emotionally too, to be held, and in a world and in a culture that doesn't fucking hold us. It emotionally does not hold us. If anything, a lot of our society, and you can disagree with me, that's fine. This is my perspective. I'm never, saying that I know the truth and I am the truth. But from my perspective, a lot of our society, not all, a lot of our society is, in a way, really abusive. Because if it was like, you're good enough as you are, go be who you are, go express who you uniquely are, our education system would be totally different. Our fashion industry would be totally different. Films, all of these things would be really different. And so when we're in a culture that's like, you aren't good enough, you need to buy this, wear this, have this makeup, have this style, have this body weight, have this body shape, use this filter because you'll look better than you are. Consume this so you'll be happy. All of that is sending the message that you are not good enough as you are. Be successful. Get a degree, get an award, get a medal, and then maybe you'll be good enough. No, none of that is saying you are good enough as you are, and what you do in your life and how you present yourself in your life is your free, unique, authentic expression of who you are, and we support you in that. We celebrate you in that. And really, there should be no authority that says we do this or we do that, whether they support us or don't support us, believe in us or don't believe in us. We're all equal. We should be in a circle, not in a top-down paradigm, which we have been in for thousands of years. So nobody should really be validating us. That comes from the inside. But what we should be doing is supporting one another, believing in one another, championing one another. And that doesn't mean we all have to agree and get along and be friends and be all, daisies and puppy dogs and rainbows. Like, there's also reality. Not everyone, there's billions of people on this planet. We're not all going to like each other. We're all not going to get along. That's fine. We're human. There's conflict. We're all learning through this experience, but respecting one another should be a fundamental, core act of just being human. That is, there's nothing about marketing that's respectful. It's manipulative. So this is what I mean around that. And if we were in a more supportive environment where we don't need to throw our opinions down somebody's throat, or we don't need to all homogenize, or just respect the individuality. Respect that we're all human, having a human experience, trying to do our best within that human experience as is possible. We've got to start with this on the inside. We're not being supported by that on the outside. So if we want to create the change we want to see in the world, we have to do that by on the inside. We've got to stop believing the illusions on the outside, that it's not okay to be human, that what you're feeling is wrong and shameful, that it's better to distract and run away from yourself than to sit with the discomfort. This whole time that I've been speaking to you and before I was meditating, I feel a lot better because I've named it. Even if I'm not getting personal into my, the whole story of what's going on for me in this moment today, it doesn't, that's neither here nor there, but I'm staying with my experience. So sometimes it's physically feeling into the experience, and sometimes, just like I'm having the conversation with you, it's having the conversation with ourselves. But not judging, not analyzing, not criticizing, not going into the story, but just like having a conversation, like, okay, why am I feeling this tension in my solar plexus? I'm afraid. Okay, what am I afraid of? Whatever comes up. Okay, why do I feel that? It's like, it's being curious, just as we would be curious with someone that we deeply loved, to be like, hey, what's going on for you? Let's talk about it. And we ask them questions, and we listen, and we give them empathy, and we hold them. We just hold them. So here we are, big adults with these little inner children inside of us that just want to be held. And even though we physically can't hold ourselves because we're too big to be held, we can do it emotionally. We can do it from the inside. And I understand that that's sometimes a hard concept to grasp. But it's something that we learn on the job. And so everything that I've been saying today of just stay with the discomfort, even if it's just that, even if it's just stay with the discomfort for 10 breaths, 5 breaths, 3 breaths. And even if you move on to the distraction, I can't take it, it's too uncomfortable, I'm going to move on to the distraction. Be mindful, be aware, be conscious of, I am making the choice to move on to distraction. Don't blame yourself. Don't judge yourself. It's okay. Sometimes we need to do that. It's all right. We're learning here. It's fucking hard to stay with our experience, especially if we've been taught, don't, distract. It's not going to happen in one go. It might take years. It might take decades. But you begin with one small step. Okay, I stayed with myself for 3 breaths. Now I'm going to go open Instagram. But I'm aware that I'm doing that. You're conscious of what you're doing and what your motivation is. And the moment that we are aware and conscious of what and why we're doing something, then we're back in the driver's seat. Because then life isn't happening to us, it's happening through and with us because we're engaging with it. And the moment that we're engaged with it, we have the opportunity to make a choice. And that's how we change our lives. I'm making a choice to distract myself. I'm not going to blame or judge myself, but I'm making the choice. So next time I might go, you know what? I'm going to choose something different because it didn't make me feel good to distract myself. Or my problems are still there. right? I don't like the word problems, but for lack of a better term right now. But when I'm aware of what and why I'm doing it, then next time I can go, I'm going to make a different choice. And when we can actively make a choice and be conscious and aware and engaged, it feels so damn empowering because we realize I'm taking care of myself. I'm creating my world. I'm creating my life. I'm creating my reality. I'm not beholden to it. The tail isn't wagging the dog anymore. I am taking care of myself and moving myself as feels right for me in that moment. I'm not at the mercy of something doing it to me. I'm the conductor. I'm the choreographer. I'm the director. And that doesn't mean I'm in control of everything. Please don't misunderstand me when I say that. Doesn't mean like, and therefore I can control everything and I control people. Control comes from fear. Control comes from not feeling safe. If I feel safe, I can engage. Engaging is very different than controlling. I hope this makes sense. Does it make sense? There's so much more that I could go into, but I think I'll leave it at that. So like baby steps, start with 3 breaths. Start with 3 breaths. Start to build the awareness of what's going on for you. And then your actions based on what's going on for you. And all of a sudden, it will begin to kind of make sense and become more clear. And there may be moments of overwhelm. And when we start to see things, it's almost like it hurts because it's like, oh my God, I can't unsee it. It's too much to be aware of. I get that a lot, and I've had that experience. But then that too will integrate. So just like baby steps, 3 breaths, be aware of your experience, be aware of your motivation. Don't judge yourself. Don't blame yourself. Don't shame yourself. Just be aware of it so that you give yourself the opportunity to have enough space between how you feel and what you do to eventually give yourself the opportunity to have a choice in the moment. And when you have choice, you have power because you're engaging with your life. You're no longer at the mercy of it. I'm repeating myself, but it's to make the point. Loving you from afar. Thank you for listening and wishing you well.